Today, Christian and I will be looking at the case study of firms in competitive markets. So question 1 says that according to the article, in the past couple of years, consumers in South America, Russia, and China developed a taste for beer and demand for hops rose. Then, in 2006, the biggest hop producer, Germany, had an extremely dry year. Which graph best represents this shift? Well, the movement from P1 to P2 would be referring to the increased demand from the various countries. Therefore, graphs B and D are the only possible answers, as the other two do not depict an increase in demand from P1 to P2. Then, the movement from P2 to P3 would be a decrease in supply, as Germany exhibited a dry year. Graph B shows an increase in supply, whereas graph D correctly shows a decrease in supply. Therefore, the answer would be graph D. For question 2, consumers in South America, Russia, and China increased their demand for beer, so the demand for hops rose. Suppose that the market automatically clears after this increase in demand and that there are no other external changes in the market. Which pair of graphs best represents the short-run impact on profits and outputs of Australian hop growers? So, in the short run, the number of firms is fixed in the market, meaning that firms won't freely enter or exit the market. Also, the firm supplies a quantity of output so that the marginal cost is equal to the price, and therefore each firm's marginal cost curve is its supply curve. The first step would be to acknowledge that an increase in demand will cause prices to increase. Naturally, if the price increases, then the hop grower will profit more. This is depicted by the red box on the graph on the left. If the farmer profits more, they will begin to sell more units to maximize their profits. Therefore, the correct answer is graph D. Note that graph A assumes that the price would decrease, which is incorrect. Graph B states that Germany has a decrease in supply, which does not relate to the question. And graph C states that the growers would increase their supply to the point where their prices would fall and they would lose profit. From this process of elimination, you can also deduce that the correct answer is graph D.
This is now Christian speaking, and we're moving on to question number 3. This question follows from the short-run situation described in question 2. Which pair of graphs best represent the long-run impact on profits and output of Australian hop growers? Assume that the hops market is a constant cost industry. The correct answer is graph A. The consumers in South Africa, Russia, and China increased their demand for beer, so the demand for hops rose. As Jack was saying earlier, this leads to a higher price and increased revenue for the firms in the short run. But the long run response is different from the short run response, as you can tell from the graph. The increase in demand leads to a higher price, which is shown by the red demand curve. The increase in price results in bigger profits for the firms, which then encourages new firms to enter the market as there are profits to be made. And as more firms are entering the industry, the supply of hops increases, resulting in a shift in the supply curve, which is shown by the blue supply curve. However, this shift in the supply curve causes the price of hops to fall. Eventually, the price is driven back down to the minimum of the average total cost. Profits are zero and firms stop entering the market. This way, the market reaches a new long-run equilibrium. The price goes back down and the profits are again back at zero. But the industry output is higher as there are a greater number of hops producers in the market. This explains why the long-run market supply is perfectly elastic in most of the cases. As in this case, where the demand for the good increases, the long-run result is an increase in the number of firms and in the total quantity supplied without any change in price. The correct answer is therefore, once again, graph A. Okay, so moving on to question number 4. Do you think the long-run supply curve is upward sloping, flat, or downward sloping in the hop industry? As I mentioned earlier, while discussing question 3, the long-run market supply curve is usually perfectly elastic. This is due to the basic lesson of entry and exit. When there's profit to be made, firms enter the market, and when there's no more profit to be made, the firms leave the market, causing the long-run supply curve to be perfectly elastic. However, there are some cases where the long-run supply curve might slope upwards. This can be caused by two different reasons. One reason as to why the long-run supply curve might be upward sloping instead of perfectly elastic is because of the fact that some resources used in production may be available in only limited quantities. A second reason for an upward sloping supply curve is that firms may have different costs. This variation in costs can in part be explained by the fact that some people work faster than others and therefore have to spend less time in order to finish a job. So, what is our answer and thoughts? We do believe that the long-run supply curve is upward sloping in the hops industry. This is because of what I just recalled as the first reason. Since hops have to be grown, you need land to grow it. And as we know, the quantity of land is limited. Therefore, in the long run supply curve will become upward sloping when all the land that can be used in order to grow hops are being used, and there is no more land to grow more hops. Therefore, the long run supply curve is upward sloping in the hops industry.